Happy Friday, folks. Hey, I knew this was coming the second that Chris Ohlsen told me Jeff Neal had called him about his residency shortly after Chris submitted his application for school board. I didn't know how the snake was going to rear its head, but I knew that it was. And it has, folks. It has been manifested in the form of Mike Ketcherside. Mr. Mike Ketcherside has posed the possibility that Chris Ohlsen's application for Godley ISD School Board Place 3 is illegal. So we're going to look at Mr. Ketcherside's crack investigation, or perhaps better said, crackerjack investigation, and then we're going to make an argument as to why this is just an ad hominem character attack against Chris, because Mr. Ketcherside's preferred candidate, Jeff Neal, can't tell you why you should vote for him. What do when you cannot provide an argument as to why voters should choose you? You attack the opponent. That's what Mr. Ketcherside is doing. So he says, just got some PIRs from Joshua ISD and Godley ISD dating back to 2003. In them, I found something that would pique the interest of the citizens of Godley. Please do your research ahead of this upcoming election. You know what, Mr. Ketcherside? That's something that you ought to look at yourself to do, is do your research. You didn't, and you didn't even try. Okay, so here we are. I've attached all the applications. You can see this in Godley Residents Talking. I'm going to try to get it pushed over to GRT Uncensored and every other group that I can be a member of. Then attach this this video so that we get the full monte to Mr. Ketcherside's argument to character assassination here. Looking at here's the first accusation. Looking at the numbers below, something does not add up, says Mr. Ketcherside. Let's see. It appears your math adds up when filling out the residents of Texas part, but your application timeline does not match up in district or precinct. It appears every year you put does not jive at all. Third accusation. On a couple of your applications, on a couple of your applications for Joshua ISD, a couple of them, you state your home address but have all your mail sent to P.O. Box 666. That's because Chris Ohlsen is the beast, folks. 666, that's the number of the beast. He did that on purpose. We'll see later. At any point during your school board career in Joshua, did you use the address you gave on your application as a rental property while you lived in Godley? That's not the question, Mr. Ketcherside. The question is, if Mr. Ohlsen did so, is such a thing illegal? The answer is no, if you've done your research, sir. And you did not, because it wasn't about truth-telling or truth-seeking for you. It's about tale-bearing, because your candidate doesn't have an argument. Next bullet point. Can one live in a different district but be elected elsewhere? The answer is yes, folks. Yes, they may. Per Lessor Crass, PC, the answer is yes. So, Mr. Ketcherside Ketcherside did not do his research here, and he could have. Again, can you live in the Godley ISD district while serving in JISD? Is this legal? There you go, folks. Is this legal? Here comes the legal argument. Well, I'll tell you what. Well, let me finish up here. He says, and citizens of Godley, we have an especially important election coming up. Mr. Ohlsen is confused about where he's lived and for how long each time he fills out an application to run for school boards in Johnson County. Maybe it's innocent. Maybe it's innocent, he says, but one could think there is an agenda here. Could think there's an agenda here. Not to mention that the handwriting on your later applications got significantly better. Did you fill out the applications, or did someone else? That's important, folks. That's the critical question here. Did Mr. Ohlsen fill out his own applications? Because that's what matters. You know, I think I'm with Mr. Ketcherside. How about you? The citizens of Godley look forward to hearing your response to help them make an informed decision at the polls. Well, I have asked Chris to ignore this piece of utter garbage, and here's why, folks. Take off my tinfoil hat. Here is why. If this were about seeking the truth, then what would one do? What's the rational position? They've had this Chris, remember, Jeff Neal called Chris shortly after Chris filed his application. Now, they've had plenty of time, folks, to go to the authority on the issue, the Secretary of State, Texas Secretary of State. And what you do there is you do this. That's right, folks. You do an election complaint. You don't get up and do your keyboard warrioring. Sorry, I'm a little bit ticked. No, you go to the authority on the subject, you get the evidence, you get the proof, and then you make your case, right? But no, not Mr. Ketcherside. No, Mr. Ketcherside first makes the accusation because Chris is guilty before he's even been tried, right? Folks, I'll tell you what. With this, okay. You want to talk to Chris about this? Come out to the candidate forum where Jeff Neal will not be. As a matter of fact, here's my challenge to Mr. Neal. Mr. Neal, go on Greg Cooper's radio show with Chris Ohlsen. Talk these issues out. Ask all your questions rather than your acolytes going about making these filthy, disgusting accusations against him. Folks, come out and meet Chris at 171 Food Row, 11 a.m. tomorrow, and ask him the hard questions, folks. Ask him the hard questions that Jeff Neal won't be asked. Okay? Chris Ohlsen, Godley ISD, Place 3. Experience, maturity, wisdom, dedication to, or commitment to the concept of education, dedication to making that concept a success, and then the execution, the ability to execute and to follow through with those two things. That's Chris Ohlsen. That's an argument, folks. Jeff Neal doesn't have an argument. What he has are acolytes going about lying on his behalf. Now, am I saying Jeff Neal okay to Neal? No. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Now, I have my own opinion. You draw your own conclusions, whatever you think. This right here, this just gets under my skin, folks. So, I'm going to let it go now. Chris Ohlsen, Place 3. Godley ISD School Board. Come see him tomorrow, 11 a.m., 171 Food Row. Thanks, folks.